when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. I am Adanna Combie, and we begin conversations this morning in studio, and we are speaking with ASP. That's not ACP, that's my error in the beginning there. ASP Dirk John this morning, as we talk about crime updates here on the island of Tobago, the position of the TTPS, and where do we go from here. Good morning and welcome.
Nice seeing you.
Right, likewise, and of course, Happy New Year to you. We're gonna get straight into the conversation. Okay. As you are aware, Tobago is a very small community-based type of living, and how we kind of engage with our neighbors, we engage with the person on the street. I mean, that traditionally is who we are, and we've seen a move away from that. And of course, an introduction of crime last year. Yes. When we're talking about 26
yes.
Murders here on the island of Tobago, and starting on January 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, the first murder recorded for 2025. This is not something we're used to on the island of Tobago. It's not something that we accept or appreciate. And of course, we know we have to speak aggressively about what is happening on the island. So, you know, having you here, we're going to have that conversation. Where are we out of 2024 and where do we go into 2025?
Allow me to express condolences to that young man's family. 15 years to go like that, it's tough. Mm-hmm. And coming from homicide, having seen the blood on the street, I believe as you started your conversation, Tobago needs to be a little more neighborly and to be more together. Because I believe there are families who are encouraging criminality and they need to stop it. So let's go straight to it. Let's take care of our loved ones, looking out for them, supporting them in what's right and what's fair and what's just. To lose a 15-year-old is not what we want, and we are presently on the hunt for the killers.
You know, in terms of, I know we always talk about if you see something, say something.
Correct.
In terms of your intelligence, I mean, 2024, as I said, was a hot year.
Yes.
In terms of your intelligence and persons coming forward to have conversations, give information,
yes.
How has that collaboration been with the TTPS in terms of getting the information that is necessary to ensure that, you know, you get the information, you get out there, you get
yes.
on the streets?
Yes.
I know you all came on the show before a number of times and you're talking about additional boots on the ground.
Yes.
You know, how has the information been coming in from persons, whether they're using the hotlines or whatever other means to get information from you?
Well, we appreciate that we've been getting a lot more calls coming in. Mm-hmm. We've been pulling some guns off the street and we've been locating some additional drug blocks. So I would encourage members of the public to continue along that lane by speaking to us. So we have the 555, we have the 800 tips. Those are anonymous. If members of the public want a more rapid response, they should use the 999 system. So we have been getting the calls. We embrace it because that is what we need in order to propel our investigation.
And in terms of, there was a series of town hall meetings,
yes.
Kept especially coming down to the end of last year, like middle to the end of last year. A lot of town meetings. What was the interaction like? Did the community come out? Did they air their concerns?
Yes, they did.
Were they a part of the conversation? And did anything they contribute to the conversation assist you in terms of how you're going to strategize to curb crime in specific areas?
As head of operations on this beautiful island, I encourage that type of interaction with members of the public because we cannot go forward unless we know where the trouble is taking place. So when you look at the Argyle situation last year, members of the public came out. Yes, they hit us hard. They told us exactly what they expected, what they didn't like from the police. But we appreciate that because from there, we can adjust and adapt our plans to suit. So it's important that members of the public say what they need to say to encourage us to propel our investigations more positively.
And what is your plan in terms of, are you going to continue that type of interaction with communities heading into 2025? I mean, I know there are so many things happening. You said under your breath just now, it's needed, yes. Needed. So what is the plan in terms of the rollout? How aggressive are you going to be? Are you going to go into community by community, or are you going to do it in a zonal way? How are you planning to go into the communities? Talk to the, I mean, listen, people, we are tired
I can see you.
We are tired in Tobago. This is not who we are.
Yes.
And we really need to have the type of conversations, as I always say, that leads into action.
Yes.
So what are the plans in terms of engaging communities this year?
I do sense how you feel, Adanna. I do sense how you feel. And having a conversation recently with someone, I told them Tobago ought not to lose the paradise sense. You see, at the end of the day, we're talking about 60,000 people, at least. Very together with harvests and other festivals that I've been part of. And it's encouraging, it's warm. The few miscreants in the midst, those gun runners, those drug men, we're going to come after them. But we need that support. We need that grounding. People need to be encouraged that what you're seeing on the ground, especially during the SOE, is an intensification of police operations. We've been doing this all the time. And we will continue to. It's important that we gain the trust, we restore the trust and confidence needed to have that exchange more positively. Public, police. It's a partnership.
It is a partnership indeed. And as you mentioned, getting guns off the streets. We don't manufacture guns here in Trinidad and Tobago. We can't. We don't have what it takes to do that. But yet, you are collecting guns from off the streets. So where are they coming from? We have spoken about border patrol.
Yes.
We've talking about controlling our borders and the porosity of it.
Yes.
What are the plans? I mean, I know you might not be able to tell me in details, but what is being put in place? What conversations are being had with all the other agencies who are here to govern and to ensure that our borders remain safe?
You're looking at a partnership, especially with the Coast Guard, Immigration, Port Authority, as well as intel agencies that are monitoring what they need to monitor. It's important that the police, as a repository of information, to dissect and to investigate.
But you know, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're talking about all these agencies. Do they have, because sometimes you hear them say, we don't have this and we don't have that, we don't, do they have...
To speak to their assets, Adanna, to speak to their assets, that would not be my thing. I can speak to the police and what we're doing. But we, the police, will partner with who we need to. The Coast Guard is a very important partner.
Yes, they are.
Port Authority as well. Because vessels are coming in, vehicles are coming in, those guns are not flying in. They're not walking in on the island. So therefore, we will touch base with our relevant entities. Yes, everyone has their constraints. National security is under constraint. We know this.
And so when they have these constraints, of course, you have to have an alternative. Is there a conversation around, okay, we don't have this.
Yes.
This is how we're going to go.
Yes.
Because remember, we have to rebuild public trust and confidence.
Of course.
And that is the primary thing we have to work towards to ensure. For instance, you want people to start calling, and you did mention that you saw an increase in the number of persons calling in.
Correct.
This is the kind of thing we want to keep encouraging, and this would only happen once the public is confident that the information they share, one, remains anonymous.
Yes.
And that, of course, action would be taken in terms of an investigation.
Yes.
So that's what we want to continue happening here on the island of Tobago. And now, as we're going to touch on the SOE in a little bit. When we come, we're going to go for a short break before we touch on the SOE in the next segment. But as we enter into 2025 with all the things that are happening around us, where is the TTPS position in terms of one, confidence, two, resources, you know, the spirit of let us get these criminals off the street, get the guns and all of these off the street, so that Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension primarily Tobago, is once again a safe space.
When you speak to national security, you can't remove the personal security of everyone. I need you feeling safe. I need each member, each citizen who's working, who's living, who have families, who are passing through, to be safe. It's a heavy, heavy portfolio. But if all hands are not on deck, we can't get there. People got to appreciate that, hey, if you're losing something so valuable as peace, what you got to do? You can't put your hands up into the air and give it up and surrender. We got to hold hands together and ensure that we save this place.
Yes, we do. And I want to pick up on something that one of our viewers is saying here, Miss Julia Brown. She's saying the government of our country needs to invest in forensic, in terms of, you know, investigating and ensuring that the information is gathered so that a charge can be laid. Because, okay, I mentioned that we're going to go into SOE after, but let me just put this in here. as in a state of emergency, you can't arrest without a charge, but we want to get the information that will lead to a charge and conviction so that we know, as you mentioned, we remain in a safe space. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for a really short break before we continue conversation, but I want you to keep this in mind as we go to that break. ASP said that he wants us to be safe and that we have to come together as communities to ensure that we provide that space where we are safe. Remember, if you see something, say something. You might see somebody strange in your neighborhood. A lot of persons are migrating neighborhoods. You've seen people migrating to different neighborhoods.
Correct.
You might not know, you might not be aware as to who that person is. If you see some kind of strange arrangement, you know, make a phone call somebody, or even try to befriend the new persons in your community to see if you can make a little assessment there before you decide how you feel. We have to go for a short break before we continue. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.